Tell us, Angela, about etiquette. Angela Lansbury, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, William. Etiquette. When you meet people in England, you look at them. There are some cultures where it's considered offensive to look at somebody, and you might notice the people, like the thug at the swimming pool who says, "What are you staring at?" That's because animals, when they look at you, they're sizing you up to get ready to pounce. And sometimes when a lion is walking at you slowly, he's about to pounce. So if you look at someone, it's better if you smile so they know that you're looking at them as a friend, a potential friend, not looking at them as someone who they can mug or attack. That's what I would say. And then you must know how to greet somebody. I can see William nodding. Somebody just did a video on all the nods and shakes in other languages. I would say, in most situations, you shake hands with somebody and you give a firm handshake. There are specific handshakes. For example, royalty or people who are meeting hundreds of people, they can't stand there doing that all day long. They'd wear their arms out. They often give you just one. That's enough, just to show hello. If you are greeting a boss, you wouldn't grab his hand and you wouldn't hold on to his hand as if you're trying to make a pass at him. There are some groups who don't shake hands. For example, I went to a Friday night meal at a synagogue in Singapore, and I discovered that people who are Orthodox men won't shake hands with a woman, and I would put out my hand and they'd back away from me. I was so embarrassed. And this also applies to Muslims and some other cultures. And in Asia, often, instead of shaking hands, they would put their hands together and do that. That's, if you're in ever a doubt, do that. Somebody said to me, how do I go into a Toastmasters meeting? Toastmasters meetings, the culture is you greet someone, you shake their hands, you welcome someone onto the stage, you shake hands, that says, I'm leaving, goodbye, the stage is yours. Welcome onto the stage, welcome back, I've finished. But if you are of some religion or some group that doesn't want to shake hands, someone said to me, what do you do? I said, well, one thing you can do if you're in the hall at the beginning, you can carry a tray. Then obviously you can't shake hands. You say, hello, how are you? But your hands are busy. No problem.
On shaking hands, I do have a question.
Yes.
I've been caught on the run when I've had food in my hand and I've realised my hand is dirty and somebody's put out their hand to shake it. What do I do? Do I say, sorry, my hand is dirty? Do I shake anyway? Do I pull away? Do I quickly try and get a napkin or a serviette? I don't know what the etiquette is. What does one do?
This happens all the time at buffets. It's really annoying. First of all, get yourself a hanky, a paper tissue. Whenever you're in that situation, make sure you do that first. I would say, my hand is dirty, consider yourself shaking hands. My worst experience with that was when I had just painted my nails. I came out of the ladies with my wet hands, and my husband's company's client's boss came out. He was running the evening, paying for everything, and he came forward and shook my hand. I didn't have time to say anything, and he didn't speak English. He spoke a foreign language, so I wasn't sure he would understand. And I said, oh my, and I shook hands, and because he'd shaken hands with me, of course the other three all shake hands, and my nail varnish was over the boss and three other people. Oh, it was just awful.
I remember I was at a gathering about 10 years ago and I met this very well-known journalist, and I'd just been eating some sushi and the paste on the sushi was all over my fingers, and he came to shake my hand, and without thinking I shook his hand, and the look of disgust on his face.
Well, obviously you would say, I am so sorry. But try and avoid the situation. The usual thing that people do if it happens to you the other way around. Equally, keep a napkin, a paper tissue in your pocket so that if someone shakes hand with you, but don't get it out and do that. I was once on an aeroplane when I spilt my champagne over the person sitting next to me, and they spent the next half hour getting it off them. I immediately called the what do you call them? Not air hostess nowadays.
Steward.
I immediately called the steward and said, I have knocked my drink over my fellow passenger. Please, could you help? And they rushed and got something. What can you do? Prepare.
I have another question, and I always find it awkward. You're going to a dinner party, and you're all about to sit down at the table. Do you wait for the host to sit down first before you sit down, or what do you do?
I think I would wait for the host unless it's one of those dinners where everyone is seated and then the host is brought in. Sometimes if you're at a gathering in a hall, obviously the speaker does not want to sit there while 500 people shuffle in their chairs. You should be sitting upright, watching, ready to stop talking, not in the middle of some long, complicated story with a punchline, which you are not going to want to stop when the speaker arrives, because there's nothing more annoying than being a speaker and having people chatting away in the audience.
I was at a restaurant for a birthday party about 2 years ago, and the food was put in front of us. Nobody had started. I began eating, but I got a dirty look from the person opposite me, and they told me later I should have waited for the person whose birthday was to start eating first.
Yes. Well, traditionally, the English would wait for the VIP to start, and you don't start until everyone on the table, or at least those either side of you, are served, because there's nothing more annoying than sitting waiting and the person next to you is eating. It's always tempting to say, can I have a bit? Of course, I rarely do. I manage to restrain myself.
Another question.
Yes.
I've got a lot of questions.
Yes.
I always get confused.
I didn't tell you about the French one.
Do tell.
In France, they have great respect for food. In France, if the hostess or the restaurant has served you hot food, you do not let your food go cold waiting for everybody else. You start it straight away. When in France, do what the French do. Ooh la la.
What about the bread plate? Left or right?
Oh, that's very easy. Your right hand grasps your glass. Hooray! Assuming you're right-handed. Therefore, your left hand does your bread. Otherwise, and not only that, you don't want to be reaching for your bread, knock over your glass. So your glass is on your right, your bread is on your left.
When you
have room on the table.
When you're in a restaurant, you'll often have 2 courses, a starter, a main, then you'll have your dessert. You'll have 2 sets of cutlery, either side, knife and fork. Is it outwards in, inwards out?
Oh, it's outwards in. Start on the outside. You can usually see, in England, we have a soup spoon which is round rather than elongated. And that's on the outside. And you can just look. It's just logical. You don't never have to reach. Just.
The napkin.
If in doubt, ask the waiter.
The napkin.
The napkin.
Do you put it on your lap? Do you put it on your shirt? Where do you put it?
You do not put it over your face. No. You normally put it on your lap. At home, you might put it on your front, or you might even wear an apron, which is what I like to do. If I'm going out somewhere, I don't want to risk getting something down me. A waterproof apron is a good idea if you're alone and about to go out and have to eat.
Any other important areas of etiquette that we need to know?
Speaking of napkins, I was in a wonderful 5-star hotel in San Francisco. I put my napkin down and I came back. I had a fresh napkin and they recooked my egg, which I thought was brilliant. And I thought this was a special favour for me because I was a visiting journalist and was going to write up the hotel. They said, no, they always did that for anybody. I recently discovered that there is a special code. If you put your napkin on the table, it means I've gone. If you put your napkin on your chair, it means I've just gone to answer a phone call, gone to the loo, I'm coming back. I don't like that. Who wants to have a dirty napkin on their chair? I think it's better to tell the waiter, I'm just going for a phone call, I'll be back shortly.
What do you think are a couple, before we finish, what do you think are a couple of the biggest etiquette boo-boos that people make?
Sneezing over the food and sniffing the food, leaning forward so that your dandruff drops in the common plate. And the other one, taking the custard or the cream, pouring most of it onto yours and then leaving the other 5 people so that nobody else gets any. You look round before you take from any dish and you say, how many is this for? And the person next to you says, oh, we've got another one for 4 of us, you go ahead. So then you look, there are 4 of them, I'll take 1. Otherwise you might take 2. If you're really lucky, you say to the other person, oh, there are 4 of these, I'll take 1. And they might say, oh, I don't want 1, you can have mine. So then you can have 2, and the other 3 only get 1.
Angela, unless there's anything else you want to add?
Thank you, William, so much. Last thing you do is thank everybody for everything they've done. Thank you to the hostess. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the food. If they didn't have anything else, thank you for your hospitality.
I shall take your advice. Angela Lansbury, thank you.